Hi guys, it's Charlie Book Fanatic. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do my September wrap up. In the month of September, I read 18 books. Well, one graphic novel and the rest were all just novels. And I'm extremely pleased with this. I haven't read this many books in like a while. And it's really crazy because I actually started college again in September and I read more than I did in a long time. So from now on my wrap-ups are going to be a bit different. I don't want to split them up anymore because I feel it's too bothersome. So what I want to do is I want to talk through all of these 18 books, but I'm going to say more about some books than about others because some books I just don't have that much to say about. So I'm going to keep it minimal with those books and give some books I have more to say about more time. I'm also going to stop with these statistics. Well, I'm not going to talk to you about my statistics anymore. I am keeping track of my statistics, but I will just talk to you about my statistics at the end of the year in a separate video, and I think that will be enough. So let's talk about these books. Let's go through them by star rating, because I had quite a variety of star ratings throughout the month of September. I also had my very first 1-star book, and after that I had another 1-star book. So I have 2 1-star books in the month of September. Both of these 1-star books are actually written by male authors, which I think is quite a notable thing because I don't read a lot of books by male authors, and I think I read 5 this month, and 2 of those books I rated 1 star. First 1-star book I had was My Girl by Jack Jordan. This is a thriller about a woman who loses her husband and gets into a depression and becomes an alcoholic, and she starts discovering all of the mystery surrounding her husband. It just wasn't for me. I didn't like the writing style, I didn't like the main character. Second book was Get the Right Guy by Stan Lerner. This was a satire on how to get the right guy, but it's actually the wrong guy. It wasn't said it was a satire at the beginning of the book. I honestly wouldn't have known, and even though it was a satire, it still made me really mad, and I don't know why, but I just didn't like it. I didn't think it was funny in the slightest. Then I have 3 2-star books. The first one is The Thing About Jellyfish by Ali Benjamin. I honestly thought it was Ali Benjamin until I found out it was a white woman. So fun fact, it's Ali Benjamin. This is a middle grade book about a girl who loses her best friend due to drowning. And she thinks her best friend has been stung by a jellyfish and has died because of that. Because everyone should know someone in their life that has been stung by a jellyfish, and our main character doesn't know anyone, so it should have been her best friend. Again, it's middle grade. Middle grade is really not my thing. I read another middle grade book this month and I only rated 3 stars. I think I'm honestly going to give up on middle grade because I am really not enjoying it. And other people have been raving about The Thing About Jellyfish, and it just wasn't for me. I didn't like the main character at all. I didn't like the subject matter. I am not interested in the slightest in Jellyfish. Then I read Iron to Iron, which is the novella after Wolf by Wolf and before Blood for Blood, which is coming out this month, October. And it is by Ryan Graudin. I didn't like this one. I thought it was going to be the access tool from Luca's perspective that was talked about in Wolf by Wolf, but it was a year before that, how Luca met Adele, and I honestly wasn't interested in that. I like the mystery shrouding their meeting, but so I wasn't really interested in this novella. It was 100 pages or something, and I felt like that was too long as well. The last book I read for 2 stars was Open Road Summer by Emery, which is very strange. I rated 2 stars because I read When We Collided earlier this month by Emery. It was the first book I read by Emery, and I rated it 5 stars. So I wanted to read something else by her. So I picked up this one, and it is about a girl who tags along with her pop star best friend and falls in love with the opening act, who is a male pop star, and the main character was constantly slut-shaming everyone, and it annoyed me to no end. Slut-shaming is something that really catches my eye in books, and something I particularly hate. So this book was doomed from the start, to be honest. Then I have 6 3-star books. The first one is A Distance to Home by Jenn Bishop, which is the other middle grade I just talked about. It's about a girl who loses her big sister, and she used to play baseball, but then she quits playing baseball because her sister isn't there to watch her anymore. I honestly didn't get this. Like, all the flashbacks we get were her big sister being mean to the main character, and I really hated her, and I was like, okay, you died. I didn't care because she was always being mean, and it was sad for the main character, I guess, but I didn't feel sad. The next 3-star read was a graphic novel, Abelard by Renaud and Régis Hautière, and this was a French graphic novel translated into Dutch, and it was about a chicken, anthropomorphic animals, a chicken called Abelard who goes to catch the moon for his crush Emery, and this grumpy bear called Gaston tags along with him. And this isn't middle grade or young adult. This is an adult graphic novel because there are some really mature subjects. Like Abelard asks Gaston what a prostitute is, and it talks about race and ethnicity, which I thought was interesting, but I thought the whole concept of the story was quite weird. Abelard sees Emery for once, and he immediately is in love with her, wants to catch the moon and the stars for her, and goes all the way to America to do this. Aside from that, I really liked the art style. The art style was what really made the story for me because it had all of these brownish and blue tones for day and night, and I really liked that about it. Then I read Slump, the first book in the Slump series by Colleen Hoover. Honestly, guys, this wasn't Colleen's best book. I think it's the first book she has ever written. I am going to read the second book in the series, but I felt like this was all very convenient and a bit too dramatic for my tastes. My favorites by Colleen Hoover are still Ugly Love and Maybe Someday. This one definitely did not top that. My next 3-star read is the second book in the Chaos Walking trilogy of Patrick Ness, The Ask and the Answer. I still rated this 3 stars. I rated the first book 3 stars, but this one was infinitely better than the first book, but still average. The first book I read in Dutch and I hated it. Then the second book I read in English and I really liked it. I still wasn't particularly invested in any of the characters, but I am really interested in how the plot is going to develop from here, and I will definitely pick up the third book. And then the last 3-star book is the Lifeboat Clique by Kathy Parks. This is about 5 teenagers who end up on a boat after a flood hits the party they were at, and this one girl, the main character, is an outsider, and the other 4 teenagers are all part of the popular clique. And one of the popular clique is the main character's ex-best friend. And obviously a lot of dramatics ensue. I really did not like this book, but I think Parks did a good job with the premise. It was kind of boring, not gonna lie. These characters were stuck for a long time on a boat, and it was just boring because they all did the same thing. They tried to get food, they tried to get water that wasn't salty. Honestly, I was kind of bored, but the events in this book did shock me, and that is why I rated 3 stars eventually. The next 3-star book I've read is The Art of Being Normal. This book has LGBTQ+ elements in it, and it's by Lisa Williamson. This book is about a transgender boy who meets a new guy in his school, and they start to bond slowly throughout the book. They both have different home situations, and I felt this was an okay book. I felt it was all too convenient. It didn't really feel realistic to me. Like the whole, of course there are transgender people, but the whole situation between Leo and David didn't feel realistic to me at all. Like that wouldn't happen in real life. I can't say because it's too spoilerish, but it didn't feel realistic to me. Which was what really took away from the book. I still enjoyed the book, it was a solid book, but I feel like there are better books about transgender issues out there. There are 5 4-star books to talk about. The first one is Tigerlily by Jodi Lynn Anderson. This is a Peter Pan retelling, and I've had it on my TBR for years. It has people of colour in it, especially Tigerlily's tribe. I really enjoyed this book. I liked seeing this iteration of Peter Pan, and I've never read anything about Tigerlily before, so I thought that was very interesting. I didn't like the depiction of Wendy Darling later on in the book, because I have read Peter Pan and I've read different retellings of Peter Pan, and I didn't think Wendy was portrayed very well in this book like I imagined her to be. But we all know Tigerlily's and Peter Pan's relationship was doomed from the start. It was very interesting to actually read the journey of them meeting and them getting into a relationship and that stranding eventually. I also have the point of the writing style for this. It was written from Tinkerbell's perspective, but it almost felt omniscient at times. And it felt kind of weird when Tinkerbell inserts herself back into the story, because she wasn't in the story for most of the book, but at some point she suddenly was there. The next 4-star read is A Fortune's Palm by Rachel Bach. This is a science fiction book, and I saw it on Elena Reads Books channel, and I will link her down below, by the way. I when she did a sci-fi recommendations video, and I picked it up and I actually really enjoyed it. I enjoyed everything about it. It's a space opera and it follows a woman who is getting on this spaceship that has a dangerous reputation, and she meets all of these different characters, and it very much reminded me of The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, which I also read this month and we'll talk about in a little bit because I rated it higher. But this book came out first before that one, and I discovered I actually really enjoy the space opera genre. Then A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet is the first book in the series of the same name. It has people of color in it, and it also has LGBTQ plus elements, like a lot of them. There are interracial, interspecies relationships. There are lesbian relationships, actors who change genders throughout their life, and those are obviously the characters from another species. I thought it was so interesting to read about and to get to know all of these characters, and I'm very sad the companion novel that's coming out this month, A Close and Common Orbit, is going to follow different characters, but side characters from the first book. But I really would have wanted more from these characters in this first book. So I'm quite sad, but I did rate this 4 stars because I would have rated this 5 stars, but there was one scene in this book that I felt like was very out of character for one of the characters. So that is why I took off 1 star, to be honest. The next 4-star read is Love Letters to the Dead by Ava Dellaira. This book has LGBTQ plus elements in it, and it's about a girl who loses her sister, and she has to write an assignment. In English, she has to write a letter to a famous dead person, and she writes to Kurt Cobain, and this whole book is formatted through letters and her writing to other famous people that are deceased. And she talks about everything in her life, basically. She talks about the grief she feels over her dead sister, but also her first time falling in love with a guy called Sky, and about her friends, and basically about everything. And I thought this book was written beautifully. I cried a couple times because it had so many pretty quotes in it. It was so relatable. I overall really enjoyed the story. I didn't really enjoy a love interest. I felt he was basically an asshole to me. He was a fuckboy. I would call him a contemporary fuckboy, but apparently the main character didn't see it that way. And then the last 4-star book is A Blue Lily, Lily Blue, which is the 3rd book in the Raven cycle. And this book has an LGBTQ plus character in it. But this book was slow paced like all of the other books in the Raven cycle. I really enjoy the character dynamics and the character relationships, but I don't enjoy how the plot is unfolding. Like, it is going so slowly, and I felt like this was almost a filler book because nothing really big happened that it could have been a trilogy, basically, except for the fact that a lot of relationships were developed throughout this book, and not even that much, I'm going to be honest. Like, nothing really happened, and that annoyed me. But I still love these characters so much, and that's why I rated it 4 stars. And I have still 2 5-star books to talk about. The first one is When We Collided by Emery. This book has LGBTQ plus elements in it, and it is about a girl who suffers from bipolar disorder, and she meets a guy who has 5 siblings, and he has to care for all of his siblings along with his 2 oldest siblings because his mother is grieving over his father's death. I really enjoyed this book a lot. I especially enjoyed the female main character, Vivi, who suffers from bipolar disorder. I didn't know this was going to be an own voices novel. The author, Emery Lord, has bipolar disorder herself, and I thought she portrayed it very accurately. I know quite a bit about bipolar disorder, so it was very nice to see it portrayed like it actually is, like it is for a lot of people. And I immediately recognized the signs. I didn't know if this was going to be a book about mental health. It didn't say in the synopsis, but I immediately knew something was wrong with Vivi, and you see her spiral out of control and get into a manic episode throughout the whole book, and it was very interesting to read about. And the last 5-star book I read this month was Rejected Princesses by Jason Porath. This book has people of color in it, LGBTQ plus elements. It is basically a collection of amazing women throughout history. Women from legends, women from folktales, myths, real women, astronomers, mathematicians, adventurers, pirates, literally every kind of woman you can think about, and they are all awesome. And described in 2 or 3 pages and all of these women have their own illustrations, cartoonish illustrations, which was beautiful. But I actually filmed a review on this, and that will If that is already up, I will link that down below, and if not, please look out for that. So this is my September wrap up. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this video isn't too long, but I will see when I edit, I guess. I really enjoyed filming this and talking about all of these books. Let me know down below, what did you read in September, and did you enjoy it or not? What did you think of any of the books I just talked about? If you have read them, I would love to know. Thank you for watching. Goodbye!